1. Fernando Vargas. Fernando Vargas carried the nickname Ferocious like it was tattooed on his spirit. He wasn't a cautious fighter, he was a storm with gloves on. From the start, Vargas bulldozed through opponents with a pace that felt reckless yet thrilling, beating Winky Wright and Ike Cordy before most believed he could. But ferocity cuts both ways. When Felix Trinidad, Oscar De La Hoya, and Shane Mosley met that storm, Vargas's fearless charge left him vulnerable to heartbreakingly brutal losses. Still, he never strayed from the name. Every Vargas fight promised danger, fireworks, and risk. He embodied the word until the end, living proof that Ferocious was not just a nickname, but his entire identity inside the ropes. 2. Bernard Hopkins. Few nicknames ever fit a fighter better. Hopkins wasn't flashy, he wasn't reckless. He was methodical, merciless, and absolutely cold-blooded. The executioner carried the aura of inevitability. Once you stepped into the ring with him, it was only a matter of time. He dissected opponents, stripping them of confidence and energy until they had nothing left. Hopkins proved it wasn't hype by running off a record 20 defenses as middleweight champion, a feat nobody else has touched. He embarrassed Felix Trinidad when Trinidad was supposed to be unstoppable. He made Oscar De La Hoya crumble with a single body shot. Even into his 40s, he made younger champions look like they'd wandered into the wrong fight. And the mask, the hood, the whole entrance, it wasn't just showmanship. It was a theater with teeth. Hopkins embodied the executioner because he didn't just win. He ended you. 3. O'Neal Bell. Give him hell. Boxing nicknames don't get much more straightforward than this one. O'Neal Bell didn't come to play games. He came to raise hell. The Jamaican-born puncher was the rare man who unified all 4 major cruiserweight titles, and he did it by fighting like a man possessed. His shots had weight, his style had menace, and he never seemed interested in letting a fight coast. Against Jean-Marc Mormac, he fought like the nickname promised: fire, fury, and pressure, walking away with the belts and the respect of an entire division. His career burned bright but short, with losses dimming his run not long after his biggest triumph. Still, give him hell wasn't just a name, it was a contract. If Bell was on the card, you weren't going to see a quiet night. 4. Ronaldo Snipes. Ronaldo Snipes kept it simple, just Mr. And yet, there's something brilliant in that. The man carried himself like you'd better put respect on his name. His biggest claim to fame came in 1981, when he dropped the great Larry Holmes with a right hand that shocked everyone in the arena. For a brief moment, Mr. was about to dethrone the champ. Holmes recovered and stopped him, but that knockdown became Snipes' calling card. He wasn't elite, but he was dangerous, and that made him a tough night for anyone. Wins over Trevor Berbick and scraps with Greg Page and Tim Witherspoon proved he wasn't just a warm-up act. He was that gritty test every contender had to get through, and he did it with a nickname that was cool in its simplicity. Mr. Snipes. You had to say it with respect. 5. Joe Louis. This one goes beyond boxing, it's history. Joe Louis wasn't just the heavyweight champion, he was the heavyweight champion for an era. And the name, the Brown Bomber, summed up exactly what he did in the ring. Delivered devastating bombs with surgical precision. Louis held the belt for nearly 12 years, defending it a record 25 times. Think about that. 12 years of everyone trying, and 12 years of Louis smashing through them. But the nickname carried weight beyond knockouts. In a racially divided America, Louis became a hero, a symbol, an icon. He wasn't just a bomber, he was hope, pride, and representation rolled into one. That right hand wasn't just a punch, it was a message. And every time the Brown Bomber landed it, the world listened. 6. Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather's nickname story is split into 2 eras, and both tell you exactly who he was in the ring. Early on, he was Pretty Boy Floyd, because opponents walked away bruised and beaten while he barely had a mark on his face. His defensive mastery, those lightning-fast shoulder rolls and slick counters, made him a nightmare to hit cleanly. Reporters noticed how flawless he looked after fights, and the name stuck. But Mayweather wasn't going to be defined by looking good. He wanted to be defined by money. As his career grew, as pay-per-view numbers shattered records, he switched it up. That's when Money Mayweather was born. It became a brand. Flashy cars, million-dollar bets, diamond-encrusted watches. He leaned into it all. Fans either hated him or loved him, but the name captured his identity. Untouchable in the ring, unbeatable at the bank. 7. Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury didn't need long to prove that his nickname, the Gypsy King, wasn't just a catchy label. It was part of his identity. Coming from a proud Irish traveler background, Fury embraced the name to carry his heritage into the ring. The Gypsies have always been tied to toughness, grit, and fighting spirit, and Fury became the living embodiment of that. He was born into a fighting family, and the name King came from his rise to the very top of heavyweight boxing. His size, his agility, and his personality made him larger than life, but it was his ability to get back up, whether from a brutal knockdown or from his own battles outside the ring, that sealed the name as perfect. Every time Fury steps in, the Gypsy King isn't just boxing, he's representing generations of fighters before him and proving the crown belongs to him. 8. Ray Leonard. The name Sugar Ray Leonard doesn't just sound sweet. It defined an entire boxing era. The nickname wasn't invented out of thin air. Leonard picked it up as a tribute to another legend, Sugar Ray Robinson, who was widely considered the best pound-for-pound fighter of all time. Leonard's style was the perfect follow-up to carry that sugary torch. Fast hands, slick movement, and the ability to win both the slugfests and the chess matches inside the ring. He was beautiful to watch. When Leonard fought, there was a mix of power and grace that made the nickname feel like a destiny fulfilled. Sugar Ray Leonard became a household name because every fight was either a clinic in skill or an unforgettable war, and the nickname connected him directly to the tradition of greatness. 9. Thomas Hearns. If Leonard was smooth, Hearns was sharp enough to cut glass. The Hitman was the perfect label because when Thomas Hearns landed, people fell. His height and freakish reach made his punches come from angles opponents didn't see until they were flat on the mat. He could box when needed, but the nickname wasn't about subtlety. It was about destruction. When Hearns' right hand connected, the lights usually went out. That kind of finishing power made the Hitman more than a nickname. It was a warning label. If Leonard was the showman, Hearns was the danger. The knockout artist who could end everything in a single second. The Hitman became feared worldwide, and his fights with Leonard, Hagler, and Duran stamped the name permanently into boxing history. 10. Marvin Hagler. Most fighters get nicknames given to them. Marvin Hagler took it one step further. He legally changed his name to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Why? Because he wanted the respect he felt he earned. Commentators often skipped over calling him Marvelous, and Hagler hated that. So he made it official, and no one could ignore it again. The thing is, the nickname fit. Hagler wasn't flashy like Leonard or ruthless like Hearns. He was relentless. He fought like a tank, pressing forward with non-stop pressure. He wasn't always given the credit he deserved during his reign, but once he stepped in the ring, everyone knew what they were up against. Marvelous wasn't about glitter. It was about greatness, carved out through grit and dominance. His war with Hearns in 1985, often called the greatest 3 rounds in boxing, proved the marvelous tag was no exaggeration. And 11. Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran didn't earn his nickname from finesse. It came from pure punishment. Manos de Piedra, or Hands of Stone, was given to him in Panama, and anyone who faced him in the ring quickly found out it wasn't just hype. Duran's punches didn't just hurt. They broke wills. He carried raw power from lightweight all the way up to middleweight. An absurd feat, considering the climb in weight classes. But what made Hands of Stone stick was the attitude. Duran fought like he was insulted by the very idea of sharing a ring with you. His aggression, toughness, and ability to trade blows with anyone made him a living embodiment of the nickname. And even when he had his infamous no-mas moment against Leonard, the world never doubted that Hands of Stone was as real as it gets. 12. Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes carried one of the slickest nicknames in boxing, the Easton Assassin. The Easton part came from his hometown in Pennsylvania, and the assassin part, well, that came from his jab. Holmes had one of the best jabs in heavyweight history, a punch so sharp it dismantled opponents round after round. He wasn't flashy like Ali or Tyson, but the nickname summed him up perfectly. An assassin doesn't need to showboat. He just gets the job done with ruthless efficiency. Holmes defended the heavyweight title 20 times, proving that the Easton Assassin was more than just a cool label. It was a description of how he systematically picked apart nearly everyone he faced. His jab was the blade, and his opponents were the targets. 13. Muhammad Ali. Some nicknames are thrown at fighters by fans or promoters, but Ali wasn't waiting for anyone to name him. He declared it himself, the greatest. And the wild part? He lived up to every word. Before he even changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali, he was already painting himself as a larger-than-life figure. He called his shots, predicting rounds. He wrapped insults in poetry. He floated, he stung, and he bragged, then made good on all of it. The greatest wasn't just about boxing skills. It was about charisma, activism, and showmanship. Ali fought Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Sonny Liston, and still found time to stand up against the US government over the Vietnam draft. People hated him for it, then people loved him for it. By the end, the nickname didn't feel like a boast. It felt like the truth. Ali made boxing into theater, into politics, into legend. The greatest? There has never been another fighter who embodied that word so completely. 14. Mike Tyson. Tyson didn't just have one nickname, he had 3, and each tells a piece of the story. Kid Dynamite came first, back when he was a teen wrecking grown men in sparring. The name fits. He was short, compact, and exploded the second he landed a punch. Then came Iron Mike, the version most people remember. His neck was thicker than most people's thighs, his punches felt like steel beams, and his opponents froze before the first bell. He was iron, unbreakable, immovable, unforgiving. But when he hit the height of his terror in the late 80s and early 90s, the world started calling him the baddest man on the planet. It was more than boxing. It was an aura. Tyson stepped into a ring, and you felt like someone's life was about to get shortened. The scary part? Most nights, it was over in under 2 minutes. Nicknames are supposed to hype a fighter. Tyson's weren't hype. They were headlines. And that's the rundown on boxing's most famous nicknames, each one carrying its own story and swagger. From legends of the past to today's icons, those names stick because they mean something. If you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And drop your favorite nickname in the comments. More fight stories coming soon.